Pressure on Tracy to do fill. She has to have a spare or strike here to keep pace.
She needs a strike to stay ahead in the match.
Stay ahead, right. She got it.
That's a great ball she just threw.
Good match here.
Pressure situation, and she threw that exactly the way she wants it to.
You bet. So we have a very close match here. 10 points separating with 3 frames to go. Nicely done there, as you saw.
Oh, great reaction from the ball and the pins.
I think she talks to herself.
Well, she's just reminding herself of all the things she does well. She's very methodical. Lines up.
She's on it again. Oh, that was a bad break. Just blew by the corner.
That was a little bit thick.
Hi, I'm Tracy Anza. I have been a 5-pin bowler for most of my life. As a classroom teacher in an elementary school, I have been able to use my experience to introduce the sport of 5-pin bowling to my students. I am a member of the Master Bowlers Association of Canada, which is the official coaching arm of bowling. Master bowlers have taken a number of courses on how to teach the game. The purpose of this video is to provide you with a tool that will allow you to teach your students the basics of 5-pin bowling, even if you do not have the background in the sport. As you might expect from a sport invented in Canada, 5-pin bowling is an ideal vehicle for participation and personal achievement. It is gender neutral, as males and females can play the sport with equal skill. It also has an easy to understand handicapping system to provide a level playing field between participants of differing skill levels. Most sports featured in our schools reward the biggest, fastest, and strongest athletes. Although a good athlete has an advantage in any sport, the attributes that make a good bowler are coordination, concentration, and discipline. 5-pin bowling will provide an opportunity for the majority of your students to experience success. This is the Toronto Bowling Club, where the elite of Toronto society would meet to play 10-pin bowling. Unfortunately, the game of 10 pins was just too slow for many of the customers. They asked the proprietor if there was anything he could do. In 1909, Tommy Ryan, the proprietor of the club, took a 10-pin to his father's shop and had it whittled down in size so that it stood a little over 1 foot tall. The 10-pin game also used bowling balls that weighed up to 16 pounds. Mr. Ryan chose bowling balls which were about 3.5 pounds and only 5 inches in diameter, creating a game that featured accuracy instead of power. The pins were set by hand. The yellow circle indicates a foot pedal that would be pressed to raise spikes for the pins to be placed on them. It was much faster setting 5 pins than 10. Soon bowling centers opened all around Eastern Canada, featuring Tommy Ryan's new game. Marion Dibble's husband had a 5-pin bowling center. In 1921, she took his keys without his knowledge and let her friends in to bowl, forming the first women's league. The sport grew with big new bowling centers being built all over the nation. It wasn't until the 1950s that the best of Eastern Canada would play the best of Western Canada to determine the Canadian champions. By that time, the game was well on its way to becoming one of Canada's favorite sports. Tommy Ryan had succeeded in turning the game of American 10 pins into Canadian 5 pins. The Canadian 5-Pin Bowlers Association presents Learning the Canadian Game. A lot has changed since the world was recorded in black and white. Today a group might bowl to music playing from state-of-the-art speakers, while flashing lights cut through fog and everything is lit by black lights. But perhaps only the style has changed. After all, there was a piano in Tommy Ryan's Toronto Bowling Club. Today, 1.5 million Canadians choose bowling as a major form of recreation each year. They get together to socialize. Leagues appeal to people who want to bowl with friends while making new ones. And of course, the aspect of sport that appeals to many is the chance to compete. Most people like a challenge. They may want to excel, to be the best, or they may just want to find out what is their best. 45,000 youth bowlers play in leagues. The Youth Bowling Council is run by the bowling proprietors, and while the bowlers are enjoying themselves in their leagues, they may get the opportunity to advance to a zone, provincial, or even a national championship like this one. Five-pin bowling is a recreation and a social activity, but it is also a sport. It is a sport that males and females can play with equal skill. The best of the youth bowlers throw a ball as well as the best adults. It is easy to learn, but difficult to master, making it a game that can be played throughout a lifetime. People bowl because it's fun and it's a challenge. There is just something enjoyable about knocking down 5 pins with one ball. It is a game where the least skilled player and the best player on a team both get to play the same amount. 10 frames a game, each game, all the time. 5-pin bowling is both an individual and a team sport. There are many reasons to bowl. Some people enjoy the personal satisfaction of playing their best. Some enjoy being recognized for doing something well. Each sport rewards a certain type of athletic ability. Weightlifting rewards strength. Football rewards strength and speed, but it especially rewards size. Tennis rewards agility and endurance. 5-pin bowling is a sport that rewards concentration and coordination. Size, speed, and strength do not matter. What matters is the bowler's ability to repeat the same style the same way on every ball. It is this ability that is the trademark of good bowlers. It's been this way for champions of the past and of today.
Bob Jack goes. And he's got him a strikeout.
Really, all Jennifer's got to do is keep the ball on the lane and get a decent count,
Some sort
and
of
she
a
wins
count,
the
yep.
Canadian Championship.
Yep. She must be feeling great at this time because, remember, she just came out of youth bowling and into this. Oh, good count. Yeah. Just out of youth bowling, as I was saying earlier, and into this open play. And she has a good string going. She had 3 strikes in a row, and of course, you can still spare this up.
That corner pin that Jennifer just threw was enough to win the match and the 1996 Canadian
There she is, the champion.
Champion, what a great accomplishment. Well, whether your goal is to become a national champion or have fun in a league or just keep the ball on the lane when playing with friends, Jennifer Marshall and Rob Shanis will demonstrate the basics of throwing a 5-pin ball. This video will teach you the secrets of the Canadian game and help you play the game of your life. It's time to learn the basics of 5-pin bowling. But before you can bowl, you need to be wearing the proper equipment. The bowling center will supply bowling shoes with a special sole which will allow you to slide as you throw a ball. If you are learning to bowl in the gym, you will need to wear a second sock on your left foot if you are right-handed, or on your right foot if you are left-handed. You will also need to wear clothes that are not only comfortable, but also allow you to move freely. You don't want to be wearing anything that binds, is bulky, or has long sleeves. For safety's sake, it's important to learn the proper way to pick up a ball. Make sure your fingers are never in a position to be hit by a returning ball. This is best done by picking up the ball with 2 hands on either side of the ball track. You then change the way you are holding the ball as you get up on the lane. This video will show you a very effective way to throw a ball called the 3-step approach. With the three-step approach, the arms straighten as you take your first step. The ball swings back to the top of the backswing during the second step. And the third step is a slide with the arm swinging forward, and even after the ball is gone, the bowler continues to swing the arm up in a follow-through. Rob is right-handed. He holds the ball with both hands at chest height. His feet are together. Most of his weight rests on his right foot. His muscles are ready but relaxed. This allows him to move smoothly as he makes his approach. The best way to learn the three-step approach is to practice its parts and then put them all together. The arm swing is the most important part for determining where the ball will go. The arm swing in five-pin bowling looks a lot like the underhand toss of a softball. The ball travels in the direction that the arm points. Begin in the stance position with the arms at chest height and your weight on the right foot for right-handers and the left foot for left-handers. The arms straighten, swings back, then forward, finishing high. Out, back, through, straight, back, through. 1, 2, 3. Out, back, up. It's time to practice. Flow from one part of the arm swing to another with no hesitations. In other sports, when an object is thrown, the front foot is planted. They may even put spikes in the bottom of the shoes to help. Five-pin bowlers slide as they release the ball. The slide brings the bowler to a smooth stop. Stand with your arms at your side and keep them there throughout this drill. If you are right-handed, slide your left foot. Left-handers, slide with the right foot. You may find it a little difficult at first to keep your balance. Try an easy slide with the shoulders finishing high above the knee of the sliding leg. The trailing leg stays on the floor directly behind you. Make sure you get a lot of bend with the front knee, but not so much that your other knee touches the floor. Hold your balance for the count of 4. This is a grade 8 class during their first lesson. While most of the students are looking good, there are a couple of mistakes. The student in the white t-shirt has his shoulders way too far down, causing his back to be horizontal. The student next to him in the middle of the screen is resting his left arm on his sliding leg. During this drill, the arm should be at your side. The left arm is never rested on the leg. Slide forward, bending the knee, keep the shoulders up above the front knee, and make sure that your other leg is straight behind you. Practice the slide until you are able to keep your balance. Slide, then hold your position for the count of 4. The one step is the combination of the arm swing and the slide. It is like the arm swing drill, but this time when you go to swing the arm forward, slide your foot at the same time. Out, back, and slide. Out, back, slide as the arm swings forward. Away, back, and slide. Hold your position at the end for a count of 4. Even though it's called the one step, slide the foot forward, don't lift it off the floor. Some of the students don't have their arms up in the follow-through position. If you look in the circle, this girl is right-handed, and she has her right leg forward. Her left leg should be her sliding leg. This is a mistake you will probably not make in the gym. It is unlikely that you will try to slide with the running shoe. Remember to begin in the stance position with your weight on your right foot if you are right-handed. Your weight is on your left foot if you are left-handed. Out, back, slide. It's time to practice. The slide and the forward swing of the arm happen at the same time. Hold your balance and keep your follow-through up for the count of 4. Your other arm should not be on your leg. It is away from your body for balance. If you are getting your arm up into the follow-through position and you are on balance, then it's time to use a ball during the one-step drill. But before you can throw it, you have to know how to hold it. Anyone who has pitched a softball or a baseball knows that how you hold the ball affects the way the ball moves. A fastball, a curveball, and a knuckleball are all held in different ways and the ball moves differently. How you hold a bowling ball will also have an effect on the way that the ball moves. The fingers are spread across the ball. The thumb should be far away from the index finger, but still in a comfortable position. The ball is held and controlled with the fingers. Jennifer has her hand under the ball and places the ball in her fingers, with the ball resting lightly on a small part of her palm. Her fingers are spread evenly on the ball, and her left hand helps support the weight of the ball. As you look at Jennifer hold the ball again, notice that the ball is held at chest height and the hand is under the ball. The ball is resting in the fingers, not sitting on the middle of her palm. This gives Jennifer greater control of the ball. A palmed ball is much harder to control. In this picture, an arrow is pointing to the space between the ball and Jennifer's palm. However, if you have a smaller hand, then the ball will rest more on the palm. Get into your stance position with the ball at chest height. You are about to do the one-step drill, but this time you will throw a ball. Away, back, and throw. Make sure you are on balance and hold your position at the end. In the bowling center, you must handle the weight of the ball. In a gym, spread yourselves on either side of the gym in groups as directed by your teacher and roll a softball across the floor to a partner. Remember to hold your finishing position for the count of 4. Keep the ball on the floor. You are trying to roll the ball while staying on balance and holding your follow-through. Do not attempt to whip the ball to generate speed. Just like these students, you may have difficulty getting the follow-through up at first. However, it doesn't take long to get the same form with and without the ball. The secret is to wait until the ball is at the top of the backswing before sliding the foot. The ball and the foot move forward together at the same time. Hopefully you are bowling on a blank lane without pins. The goal of this drill is to keep your balance while following through. Concentrate on form. The strikes will come later. By now you have mastered the slide and the final position. Now you have to learn how to get into that position. In this drill, you will be taking 3 steps with your hands at your sides, or to be more accurate, you will be taking 2 steps and then slide. This is the style that you are working towards. If you watch the steps, you will see that they are in a straight line. One step, 2 steps, and then slide with the foot of the trailing leg staying next to the floor. Notice that the steps increase in size. A small step, a bigger step, then a nice long slide. Make sure that your hands are at your sides and they don't move. Count to yourself. 1, 2, 3. Left, right, left. 1, 2, slide. Take slow, easy steps, keep your balance at the end, and hold your position. In the bowling center, if you are taking 3 steps and you are far away from the foul line, start closer. If you are going over the foul line or don't have enough room to get in a good slide, then move back. The footwork is the foundation that you are building your style upon. This is the most important drill. You will match the 3 movements of your arm swing with the 3 steps of your footwork. This is an example of good timing. The hands move forward at the same time as the first step. The arms straighten on the first step, the smallest arm movement with the smallest step. As Rob takes his second step, the ball continues to the height of the backswing. He is now ready to throw the ball. The arm comes forward at the same time as Rob slides. When he lets go of the ball, his shoulders are high above the bent knee of his sliding leg and he is on balance. And after the ball is gone, Rob's arm continues up into a follow-through. The timing is the same for Jennifer. During the first step, the arms straighten. The smallest arm movement with the smallest step. On the second step, the ball continues up to the height of the backswing. The ball is a little above shoulder height, and her shoulders are in line with the front knee. As Jennifer slides, the ball swings forward. Her shoulders are high above the knee of the sliding leg, and her trailing leg is in contact with the floor. Jennifer finishes with a nice high follow-through on each shot. Begin in the stance position. You will say 3 words, and each time you say a word to yourself, move your arms and legs. Away, back, through. Left, right, left. One, 2, 3. Away, back, through. Left, right, left. 1, 2, 3. Practice moving your feet and your hands together. Move with an easy rhythm, not too fast. Hold your position at the end. You want to practice this with no pins so you can concentrate on your form. Fortunately, for those of you in a gym, this will not be a problem. You will be practicing your 3-step approach, but this time with the ball in your hand. The ball should roll smoothly, no bouncing. Try to roll the ball into your partner's glove, keep the speed down, and concentrate on your form. For the time being, just follow through with your arm swinging up the center of the lane. You will learn about targeting on the arrows later in the video. Keep a nice easy pace. Excellent bowlers don't have to run up the approach. They move with an easy rhythm, they are on balance, and they follow through. This drill begins without pins. Your teacher may add pins later if you are keeping the ball on the lane and holding your form. Concentrate on your balance and your follow through. This is a quick reminder of what you learned last lesson. You were shown an easy, rhythmic 3-step approach. The hands are held at chest height and the arms straighten on the first step. This is the smallest arm movement, so it matches up with the smallest step. The ball swings back during the second step. At the top of the backswing, the ball is slightly higher than shoulder level. The arm and the sliding foot come forward at the same time. The bowler is on balance as the ball is being released. The three-step ends with a nice high follow-through. Each step and arm movement flows smoothly from one to another without any stops or hesitations. Before you can begin bowling, you have to remind your body what it learned in the last lesson. This is another form of the one step. Rob stands with his weight on the right foot, left foot slightly ahead. He squats down and holds his balance. He stands up and then slides with his left foot. Notice how he holds his position. The arms are at the side during this drill. In the squat, Rob's back is fairly straight. His left foot doesn't step forward, it slides along the floor. The secret of the drill is that the bowler doesn't stand straight up. It is a 3/4 stand. The back is at an angle and the knees are slightly bent. Watch the class do the curling drill twice and it looks a lot like Rob's. Nice balance and they hold their finishing position. Watch again. A nice, easy rhythm. However, you can see that Rob has his back at an angle and his knees are slightly bent while the students are standing straight up with no knee bend. The knee bend is an important part of this drill. Take your time and hold the final position for a count of 4. This drill requires a lot of balance, but so does 5-pin bowling, so this is a good way to acquire that quality. This is the same body motion that you have just learned, but now you will add the arm swing. Hands are chest height, arms straighten, back, through. The hands are at chest height. Rob rises during the backswing. He slides as the arm comes forward. Watch carefully. The proper timing is to rise as the arm comes back. Hands at chest height, arms straighten, rise, and through. These students are still standing too straight, but they have the right rhythm. Hands at chest height, arms straighten, rise, and through. Keep your other arm away from your body. Don't try to move too fast. Take your time and hold your position at the end. Each time that you go bowling, you will warm up on the lane by doing the 3-step without a ball. Before major tournaments, you can find bowlers warming up in this way. This 3-step approach with the ball is a lot easier to do if you have reminded your body what you want to do beforehand. You want to find an easy rhythm and keep your balance. Hands at chest level. 1, 2, slide. Away, back, through. Left, right, left. Time to practice. If you do the 3-step well without the ball, it makes it a lot easier to do it well with the ball. Five-pin bowlers look at targets on the lane that look like triangles. These are called arrows, and the idea of using them to knock down the pins is called spot bowling. Almost all of the top 5-pin bowlers are spot bowlers. These are the pins, the head pin in the middle, the 3 pins on either side and the corner pins on the ends. You may naturally assume that if you are trying to knock down the pins, then you would look at them. Some people do, but it is not as accurate as using the arrows on the lane. This graphic highlights some of the more important markings on the lane, the dots on the approach, and especially the center arrow. The distance from the foul line to the headpin is 60 feet. The distance from the foul line to the center arrow is only 15 feet. The headpin, the center arrow, and the middle dots on the approach are all on the same board. This makes using the center arrow a good guide for throwing the ball up the middle of the lane. This line is the path that the ball would follow in order to hit the headpin. A vital part of spot bowling is using the dots on the approach to position the bowler consistently in the same place from one ball to the next. In this example, Jennifer has the edge of her right foot on the board that is in the center of the lane. The dot on the approach allows her to find this spot all the time. This is a different starting position. It is only one board over, but that one board can make a difference. You will begin by standing in the center of the approach along this center line. It positions the arm in a line with the middle pin, and for a bowler with a straight ball, it makes it relatively easy to hit the middle. If the ball is not straight, that will be covered in another lesson. While you will be starting along this line, you will not necessarily be starting as far back from the foul line as Jennifer does. Jennifer stands on one side of the dots, while Rob starts on the other side of the dots as he takes smaller steps to reach the foul line. Take a look at Jennifer's eyes as she gets up on the approach. She looks down to find the same place on the approach each time. She is well positioned to use her follow-through. Watch again. Standing in the proper place is vital to being a consistent bowler. Jennifer moves straight down the approach and follows through to the arrow. There are 3 main reasons to spot bowl. The center arrow is closer than the pins, it's easier to hit, and it's on the same board as the head pin, which makes it a good guide for throwing the ball up the middle of the lane. Spot bowling is more accurate than pin bowling, and it is more consistent. When spot bowling, you want to follow through with your arm swinging through the center arrow up the middle of the lane. Standing along this line and throwing the ball at the center arrow works well if you throw a straight ball. When you throw a ball, notice whether it travels in a straight line or whether its path to the pins bends to the left or whether the path bends to the right. Watch the arrow as the ball rolls over it. Bowl without pins to start. When they are added, hold your follow-through up until the ball has hit the pins. Even the best bowlers only get a strike about half the time that they hit the head pin. Since you will be throwing for a spare in at least half of all the frames you bowl, being good at them is vital to good bowling. There are 3 classes of spare conversions. Low percentage spares. These are so difficult that even the best bowlers just try to count 15. Center spares. The head pin is still standing for your second ball. Common spares. You've hit the head pin, but a corner pin or a chop off is still standing. Let's start with low percentage spares. If you get aces, you throw 2 more balls for 15. But if you want to spare it, hit a corner off of the black backing and have it rebound into the corner on the other side. If you are going to make a low percentage spare, it will probably be the head pin split. The ball takes out the 3-pin and 2-pin, but you almost miss the 3-pin with the ball, sending the pin across the lane to knock down the other corner. Punching a head pin happens too often. Bowlers get more shots at head pins than either of the other two low percentage spares combined. Even good bowlers just try to pick up 15, but to spare it, you pick a side and almost miss the 3-pin, sending it across the lane to make the spare. You can throw for either 3-pin. Your chance of making the spare is the same, slim. With a center spare, you've missed the head pin on your first ball. Good bowlers hit the middle so often that they may throw at 2 center spares a game. A beginner gets many opportunities to throw for a center spare as they hit the middle much less often. The best strategy for most bowlers is to throw the second ball the way they should have thrown the first, following through over the center arrow. The top bowlers hit the side of the head pin where the rest of the pins are standing. This is called throwing for the inside of the pin. This time the left side of the head pin is the inside. The best way for you to make this spare is to throw your best strike ball for your second shot. The top 5 pinners will hit the inside of the head pin, in this case the right pocket, sending the head pin across to the far corner. Here, the inside is the left pocket. You've hit the head pin on the first ball, and the left or right corner pin, or a chop, is still standing. To make these spares, you will need to learn how to move your starting position on the approach. Remember this line? From the center dot on the approach, through the center arrow, into the head pin. This gray path shows the line down the center of the lane. Rob throws the ball along this line in order to hit the head pin. The line to the pin that you are aiming for always passes through the center arrow. The most common strategy in 5-pin bowling is to move your starting position left or right when throwing for a pin other than the head pin. To do this, you use the dots on the approach. If you are standing on the center dot for the center pin, you will stand 2 dots about 10 boards over to hit a corner pin. When you move your starting position right and throw the ball over the center arrow, it hits left. You throw across the lane to hit a corner. You move right to hit left and left to hit right. Watch how moving to the left helps Rob spare the right corner. Here's the line from the right corner through the center arrow and back to Rob's starting position. Rob moves his starting position to the left to get in line with the center arrow and the right corner. Notice the starting spot on the left outside dot. If Rob walks straight up the lane and hits the center arrow, he will miss the corner. To hit the corner, Rob must walk across the approach toward the center arrow. Actually, Rob stands closer to the foul line than the spots on the approach, and Jennifer stands further away, but both stand along the line from the corner to the outside dots. Now it's your turn to practice hitting the right corner. Throw the ball the same way as you usually do, but move your starting position 2 dots to the left. If there are 5 dots on the approach, this is easy. Just use the outside left dot. You already have the idea of how to spare the left corner. If moving to the left and throwing across the center arrow will hit the right corner, then moving to the right and throwing the ball over the center arrow will hit the left corner. Jennifer lines herself up with the outside right dot, points her feet to the arrow, and walks across the approach. Try to imagine the path that the ball will have to follow in order to hit the left corner pin. The secret to corner pin spares is that positioning yourself across the lane allows for a greater margin of error. In other words, you can be a little bit off and still hit the corner. If there are 5 dots on the approach, line yourself up along the outside right dot, or move 10 boards to the right of the center dot. Point your feet at the center arrow. Your bowling style stays the same as it is for a strike ball, only your starting position has changed. To spare chops, you use the same strategy of moving your starting position, but you don't have to move your starting position as much as you do when throwing for corners. Watch what happens to the line as you move across the lane from dot to dot. The further you move to the left, the further the ball hits to the right. In order to hit the right 3 pin on the chop off, you stand on the dot next to the center dot. Look at the path that the ball would follow across the lane in order to spare the right chop. Here is Rob in the middle of the lane. He only has to move a small distance left to line himself with the right 3 pin. He points his body to the center arrow and follows through over his target. To hit the left 3 pin, you move to the dot that is immediately to the right of the center dot. Here's the line the ball will follow over the center arrow in order to hit the left chop. Let's watch Rob spare the left chop. He stands in the center of the lane and moves a little to the right so that he is lined up with the dot that is immediately to the right of the center dot. He points his body toward the center arrow and follows through over the target. The ball hits on the left when you move right. At first this seems strange, but using this strategy will allow you to become excellent at common spares. The ball hits on the right when you move left. You always throw across the lane at corners and chops, but you do not change your bowling style. Moving your starting position is the only adjustment you need. The ball hits on the left when you move right. The ball hits on the right when you move left. The head pin might get in the way, but alternate shooting at the right chop on one ball and left chop on the other. This will help you get the idea of shooting across the lane at these pins. Sparing a chop is more difficult than sparing a corner. The easiest shot in bowling is to knock down one pin. You've been doing everything that this video has told you to do. You have a nice rhythm, an efficient style, and a beautiful follow-through. But whenever you hit the center arrow, you miss the head pin. The problem may be that your ball doesn't travel in a straight line. In fact, with the friction between the ball and the lane, it would be surprising if it did move in a perfectly straight line. Here is the center line, from the center dot through the center arrow to the head pin. But in the real world, on a real lane, your ball may move. This ball for a right-handed bowler is called a backup. It makes a little break to the right, a little bend, a little fade to the right as it goes down the lane. A ball that goes down the lane and makes a break to the left, has a little bend to the left, the path moves to the left, is called a hook. There's a hook that missed to the right. It's not where the ball hits that determines whether it's a hook or a backup. It's the bend in the path of the ball. Here's an example of a ball that misses to the left when hitting the center arrow. We make an adjustment to bring the path of the ball into the head pin. The adjustment that we make is to move the starting position a little to the left. That moves the ball a little to the right because we are pivoting over the center arrow. If you are hitting the center arrow and you are missing to the right with either a hook or a backup, move your starting position to the right to bring the ball a little more left. You only use this method if you are hitting the center arrow and missing the middle. If you are missing the center arrow, you need more follow-through. If you are hitting your arrow and you are missing to the right, move right. If you are missing to the left, move left. Remember, the ball hits in the opposite direction that you move. Let's go back to the corner pin spares. When you wanted to hit the right corner pin, make the ball move right, you went to the left side of the lane. For the ball to be on the left side of the lane, you moved your starting position to the right. Where the ball will wind up is always in the opposite direction of the move that you make. Here the bowler is throwing a backup which misses to the right. The bowler will move the starting position to the right, and because we are pivoting over the center arrow, the ball will come into the head pin. A movement to the right causes the ball to be a little bit more to the left. You can use this adjustment when throwing for any pin. Here is a straight line toward the corner, but if you throw a backup over the center arrow from that same spot, maybe it misses to the right. So a small adjustment to the right will bring the ball a little to the left into the corner. This is a powerful strategy. Everyone's ball moves a little differently, and your ball will move differently at different bowling centers. Where you stand in one bowling center to hit the head pin may not be the same place that you stand in another bowling center to hit the head pin. You may have to make an adjustment of a board or two, left or right. If you've adjusted 2 boards to hit the head pin, the same 2-board move will help you pick the corner. This works for all your shots. Rob has moved 2 boards to the right for the head pin. He is standing a little to the right of the center dot. To pick the left side, he moves 1 dot to the right and then moves another 2 boards to the right to adjust for his backup. His adjustment for the strike is his adjustment for every other pin. If you have changed your starting position to adjust for the movement of the ball when throwing a strike, the same adjustment will usually work when shooting for the 3 pins or corner pins. Moving your starting position works. If you are hitting your arrow and your ball moves the same amount each time, you are consistent. Even though your ball won't move in a perfectly straight line, it will have a little bit of a bend either left or right. You don't want your ball to move an excessive amount. A curve ball is any ball with an extreme break either left or right as it rolls down the lane. This is a very difficult ball to control, and it's not a good one to use for 5-pin bowling. You may already know whether you throw a backup or a hook. Lane adjustments are only used if you are hitting the center arrow and missing the head pin. If you are hitting the center arrow and are missing the head pin, move in the direction that you are missing, 1, 2, or 3 boards, until you hit the head pin when you hit the center arrow. If a right-handed bowler releases the ball with a clockwise rotation, a backup is the result. A counterclockwise rotation creates a hook. Too much rotation creates a low score. Here's the release of a hook. The release of another hook. And now the release of a backup. There, got it? The release happens too fast to catch unaided. In stop action, you can see the fingers spread on the ball and the hand is behind the ball. It's almost as if his fingers are going through the ball. From the front, you can see that the ball rolls straight off the end of the fingers with the hand directly behind the ball. The ball is being released right beside the sliding foot. Watch this backup as it rolls down the lane. It bends to the right, but not a lot. It is very consistent. The hand behind the ball gives the bowler control and accuracy. You want a smooth release. Don't overthrow the ball. If you hold the ball too tight, you will not get the roll that you need to throw strikes. Try to keep the hand behind the ball at the release. This will give you a backup or a small hook, which will be easy to control. Now that you know how to throw a ball, you might want to join a league or play in a tournament. Here are a few things that you should know in order to play the Canadian game. When you go to the bowling center with a couple friends, you usually take all of your turns on the same lane. When bowling in a league or a tournament, you alternate lanes. All odd frames of a game are played on one lane, and all even frames are played on the other lane. Taylor has already thrown 2 frames. He bowls his 3rd frame on the odd lane, and after sparing it, he throws his 4th frame on the even lane. His opponents who started on the even lane bowl every 2nd frame on the odd lane. Taylor will bowl his 5th frame on the odd lane again. At the top of the screen is a slow bowler warning. Part of bowling etiquette is to be ready to bowl when it is your turn. The trip to pick up chips or a drink should not slow down your fellow bowlers. You'll see a lot of hand slapping in bowling. It's all part of good sportsmanship. There is a pattern to taking your turn so that bowlers who are beside each other are not throwing the ball at exactly the same time. This is called lane etiquette. So many bowlers with everyone taking their turns, and yet no 2 bowlers that are side by side are throwing the ball at the same time. This lane etiquette allows the bowler to play without being distracted by a bowler on an adjacent lane. How is this done? Rob and Jennifer are both ready to bowl, but Jennifer is to Rob's right, so he lets her play first. Then it is Rob's turn to bowl. He doesn't have to wait for Jennifer to leave the approach. He only has to wait until she has thrown the ball. Rob will again wait to throw until Jennifer has delivered the ball. If a bowler is standing on the approach on a lane next to you, it is that bowler's turn. You stay off of the approach until the ball has been thrown. This is the first rule of lane etiquette. The second rule of lane etiquette is, if you and another bowler are stepping onto the approach at the same time, the bowler on the right gets to throw first. The other bowler will wait until the ball has been thrown. Lane etiquette is pretty easy when there are only 2 bowlers. If you have more lanes in use, it gets a little more complicated. Megan has joined Rob and Jennifer. Rob is to Megan's right, and Jennifer is to Rob's right. Who should bowl first? Rob lets Jennifer bowl first, and Megan notices that Rob is waiting for Jennifer, so she uses the opportunity to throw her ball. Rob then gets up on the approach to throw his ball. When Megan and Jennifer are ready to throw again, they can both play at the same time as they are not on adjacent lanes. Lane etiquette is seldom used during public bowling, but it is always used during leagues and tournaments. You may want to think of lane etiquette in this fashion. Lane etiquette is like crossing a street. You look both ways before getting up on the approach. Part of the excitement of bowling comes from testing your skills against other bowlers. However, to have a fair competition, you need a level playing field. Fortunately, bowling lanes are level within thousandths of an inch. Any competition between Jennifer and Rob would be fair. They often play in tournaments where only their scores are used and no effort is made to even the playing field between participants. This is called scratch bowling. The Canadian Open is a scratch event where the top bowlers from across the country represent their provinces in the attempt of becoming Canadian champions.
Little pressure on Jennifer Marshall as she prepares. And here's the strike that she wanted too. A little more concentration, I think.
Again, on that shot, she got it out onto the lane a little bit further, and that's that little bit of extra aggressiveness that Jennifer needed. Jennifer's in a position to take the lead here by throwing a strike on this lane.
Just taking her time, making sure she's got good concentration, good direction, good flow.
That's there. That one's there all the way.
That's her A-ball.
While the Canadian Open 5-pin championships or a money tournament are fair challenges for Jennifer and Rob, if they were to play against someone with a much lower skill level, Jennifer and Rob would turn in easy wins. For example, Jennifer bowls scratch against Quinn and beats him 263 to 192. Quinn doesn't have much chance of beating Jennifer in a scratch tournament, so to level the playing field, they would play pins over average. The average is the score that you can expect them to get. Jennifer's league average is 260, while Quinn's average is 186. Jennifer bowled at 263, which is 3 pins above her average, while Quinn bowled 192 with an average of 186, so he was plus 6. Quinn wins because he shot more over his average than Jennifer shot over her average. In a scratch event, you are bowling your score versus your opponent's score. In a pins over average event, you are bowling against yourself first. How are you doing today against what you usually do? Plus, minus, even? The majority of tournaments and almost all leagues are based on pins above average or a handicap system which works the same way. Most national championships and money tournaments, including those on television, are scratch events. Let's go back to the pins over average win by Quinn. What you can do between individuals, you can also do between teams. Jennifer and Rob get their friend Lynn to play on their team, while Quinn gets his friends Colleen and Jeremy to fill out his team. Usually teams are made up of 4 or 5 bowlers, but 3 will do for this example. It's a good thing that they are going to play pins over average, as Jennifer's team averages 760, while Quinn's team averages 500. If Jennifer's team bowled games that added up to 757, they would be 3 below their team average. If Quinn's team bowled games that added up to $4.99, they would be 1 below their team average, and Quinn's team would win. In the second game, Jennifer, Rob, and Lynn bowled plus 41 with an 801, while Quinn, Colleen, and Jeremy lost with 522 for a plus 22. Of course, most leagues play 3 games, so these teams will have to have the rubber match. In the third game, both teams wind up 11 pins over their averages for a tie game of 771 against 511. With this system, you can play the team on the next lane or all of the teams in the bowling center at the same time. The important point to remember is that everyone gets a fair chance to win. So where do you go from here? You can play with your family and friends, you can play for the honor of your school, or maybe bowl for a scholarship on TSN.
And this lane has been a problem for him. He punched in 1, 3, and 5. See if he can make an adjustment here. There, he threw it a little smoother that time. Managed to get the carry for the double. And 25 the final count for a 203, but $500 into the scholarship fund,
which he'll be able to use at the University of Alberta, but it is a great performance by Darcy Fiedler. He bowled a 271 in his semifinal, comes back with a 286 in this championship game to pick up the $1,000 scholarship, which he'll be able to use this year as he attends community college, studying applied sciences on his way, hopefully, to an engineering career. Congratulations to Darcy Fiedler. You're our boys' 5-pin champion on the Youth Bowling Classic.
Maybe you'll love the excitement of a well-placed shot, or maybe you have something bigger in mind.
In 1995, Sean Wells became the first bowler to repeat a series champion. He met Maurice Giroir of Quebec in an excellent final. 2 superb bowlers at the top of their games. But Sean Wells began to pull ahead in the late stages with consecutive strikes for a score of 360, the 4th highest in the tournament's history. He's all smiles, and he'll be back to defend his title.
First game today may be the best of the tournament. It features 2-time champion Sean Wells of Newfoundland, no stranger to the lanes at Roxy or the pressure of match play. And he's up against Diane Violini from Alberta, a 7-time national champion, and she's also familiar with free fall and match play competition. Match number 2 features Tracy Anseth from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, 2-time Pins Game champion with C5 and Masters experience. She's up against Winnipeg's Andy Kolodka, 22 years of experience in Master Bowlers Association events. He may be the dark horse of this tournament.
Men and women competing equally for $50,000. 5-pin bowling is one of the few sports that is gender neutral. All that really matters in most events is how well you throw the ball. Tommy Ryan invented a game that is much more challenging than its ancestor. 5-pin is a game that you can enjoy for a lifetime. The Canadian game has a place for you.
In this lesson, you'll be shown how to keep score. The pin in the middle is called the head pin, and it's worth 5 points. The pins on either side of the head pin are worth 3 points each and are called 3 pins. The pins on the outside are called corner pins and are worth 2 points each. This adds up to a total of 15 points at the end of the lane. There are 10 frames in a game. A bowler can throw 3 balls in a frame, but the frame is over if the bowler has knocked out all of the pins on the first or second balls. You keep track of each ball thrown in the small boxes and keep track of the total score in the bottom of the frame. A missed shot is marked with a hyphen, a horizontal line indicating that no pins were knocked down on that ball. The count, of course, is 0. In these examples, Jennifer is throwing the first ball of the frame. This is called a head pin. It's marked with the letters HP in the first box to indicate that Jennifer punched out the head pin on the first ball of the frame. It's worth 5 points, and Jennifer will throw 2 more balls to complete the frame. The count of the second ball will be inserted into the second box, and the third ball count in the last box. This is called a split, or more accurately, a head pin split. A head pin split happens when the head pin and one of the 3 pins is knocked down when the bowler is trying for a strike. It is marked with the letters HS in the first box and is worth 8 points, 5 for the head pin and 3 for the 3 pin. It doesn't matter which 3 pin is knocked down with the head pin. The head pin and either 3 pin is a head pin split. Aces is marked with an A. You get them by knocking down the head pin and both 3 pins on one ball. It's worth 11 points, 5 plus 3 plus 3. A chop-off, usually bowlers just call it a chop, happens when the 3 pin and the 2 pin on the same side of the lane remain standing when throwing for a strike. It's marked with a C/O in the first box. The pins knocked down are worth 10 points, 5 plus 3 plus 2. The chop may leave the left 3 and 2 pins, or the right 3 and 2 pins. The C/O covers both types of chops. Corner pins are a very common occurrence in bowling. A bowler may leave a left corner pin marked with an L or a right corner pin marked with an R. The pins knocked down are worth 13 points. When pins are remaining after throwing the first ball, and you clear the remaining pins on your second ball, it's called a spare. A spare is shown by marking a diagonal line in the second box. When all the pins have been knocked down, the bowler has at least 15 points. The first box indicates what happened on the first ball of the frame, while the diagonal in the second box shows that the remaining pins were knocked down. This gives 15 points for the first 2 balls, plus whatever points the bowler knocks down on the first ball of the next frame. If the first ball of the next frame was a 3 pin, then a 3 pin would be put in the third box of this frame to count 18 in all. A head pin would have brought the count to 20. A strike occurs when all the pins are knocked down on the first ball of a frame. However, in the 10th frame you have to throw all 3 balls and could possibly get 3 strikes. The mark for a strike looks like a backwards Y, which is put in the first box, and it's worth 15 points. No extra balls are thrown. However, the next 2 balls count twice, once in the frame that they are thrown and once added on to the strike. The first ball that the bowler throws after the strike is marked in the second box. The second ball thrown after the strike is marked in the third box and completes the count of the strike. For example, 13 and 2 on 2 balls makes a strike worth 30. 15 and 15 make the strike worth 45. When you bowl, your score goes up from the first frame to the 10th, but there's a way of reducing your score by fouling. When you foul, you mark an F under the box in which you fouled. In this case, the second ball, 15 points are subtracted from your score at the end of each game for each foul. Your score cannot be less than 0. This is the most common foul. Sliding over the foul line while throwing the ball causes the foul light to come on and the buzzer to ring. The bowler must stay behind the foul line at all times. Subtract 15 points at the end of the game. Even though Jennifer stepped over the foul line, so the buzzer would not ring and the light did not come on, it is still a foul. You'll notice she is on the lane side of the foul line. This might seem like a picky way to foul, but Jennifer triggered the foul light by crossing the foul line as she turned around just after she let go of the ball. Now here Jennifer stays behind the foul line while throwing the ball, but she still manages to foul. Notice the small object in the right gutter. You might have heard a sound as it fell off Jennifer's collar. Any article that you wear that lands on the other side of the foul line is called the foul, even if it's just a pen in your pocket. Notice the pin lying on the right side of the lane. Down pins on the lane are called deadwood, and they must be removed before Jennifer throws the ball or it's a foul. Here Jennifer sticks on the approach, walks onto the lane, and turns on the foul light as she turns around. This is not a foul. To foul, you must throw a ball. She did not throw the ball, so there is no foul. Now that you've been introduced to various parts of keeping score, here's some rules to help you put it all together. Your turn is over if you've knocked down all the pins or you've thrown 3 balls. In the 10th frame, you get to throw 3 balls even if you've knocked down all the pins. After every ball, at least 1 box is marked. A spare is worth 15 points plus the next ball thrown, and a strike is worth 15 points plus the next 2 balls thrown. Except for the 10th frame, you don't get to throw any additional balls when you strike or spare. The next balls you throw count in the frame that you throw them and on the strike or spare. In the 10th frame, however, you must throw 3 balls to complete the frame. When throwing for a strike, if you hit the head pin, you mark down letters to indicate the hit. For example, L for left, R for right, CO for a chop off, HP for a head pin, HS for a head pin split, or A for aces. Otherwise, mark down numbers, and to show 0, mark a dash or a small horizontal line. This form of scoring will allow you to recreate the game when it's done. To throw strikes, you must hit the head pin on the first ball. This scoring method helps identify whether you need to hit the middle more often or which corner pin you might not be sparing. The best way to learn how to keep score is to get some practice doing it. There are 15 points at the end of the lane, 5 in the middle, 5 on the right-hand side, and 5 on the left-hand side. Pay attention not only to the scoring, but also the way the ball is thrown and the strategies Jennifer uses to make her spares. Although there are 10 frames in a game, only 4 frames will be shown at a time. Each ball will be marked in the upper boxes, and the game totals will be marked in the bottom of each frame. Frame 1, the first ball. That is a head pin punch. It's marked by an HP in the first box, and it's worth 5 points. On her second ball, Jen takes out the left hand 3-2. We mark that by putting a 5 in the second box. At this point, she has 10, with 1 ball to go. On her third ball of the frame, she hits no pins. We indicate that with a dash in the third box of the frame and a total of 10. As she prepares for the second frame, you'll notice she's using all of the examples of good form that were learned earlier. Taking her time, concentrating, fingertip grip, and when she's ready, smooth delivery. On the first ball, she leaves a right corner pin. We indicate that with an R in the first box of the second frame. Count of 13 at the moment, with 2 balls to throw. You'll see her lining up to the left, adjusting for the corner pin, so that she'll throw the ball diagonally across the target, using as much of the lane as she can. and she spares it. We indicate that with a diagonal line in the second box with frame 2, and the frame is over with one ball yet to count. On the first ball of the third frame, Jennifer scores aces. We indicate this by placing an A in the first box of frame 3. That gives her 11 for that frame, and we've completed frame 2 now. You'll notice that there's an 11 plus the 15 for the spare gives her a 26 count of that frame, added to the 10 from the first frame. She now has a total score of 36 after 2, and 2 balls to throw in the third. On the second ball, she picks up one of the 2 pins, so we put a 2 in the second box of the third frame, and we wait for her third ball. And the third ball of the third frame is a miss, indicated by a dash in the third box, for a frame total of 11 plus 2 plus 0 for 13, added to the 36 of the second frame, giving you a total of 49. So close, a left corner pin is marked for the fourth frame with an L in the first box. 13 at the moment, 2 balls to throw. You may think that that's a spare. However, when the ball leaves the lane, it can't come back and knock anything down and still have it count. We indicate this with a miss, with a dash in the second box of the fourth frame. The pin must be manually reset, and she'll shoot at it again. And another miss on the third ball is indicated with another dash in the third box of the fourth frame. 13 for a total of that frame, added to the 49, gives her 62 in the fourth. Nice follow through. Fifth frame, she misses on the left hand side, taking out a 3 and a 2. We indicate this with a 5 in the first box of the fifth frame. Second ball, the ball crosses the target, takes out the 5-3-2 for a spare, indicated by a diagonal line in the second box. The spare is worth 15 plus the first ball of the sixth frame. Nice ball, high on the left-hand side. Jennifer scores a strike. Even the best bowlers only get strikes a little more than half the time that they hit the middle. We've now completed frame 5. Because of the strike in the 6th, we're going to put a 15 in the third box in frame 5. Now her count is 5 and 10 and 15. 30 points for the 5th frame added to the 62 gives her 92 after 5. And we've inserted that backward Y that we were talking about in the first box, and she has 2 balls that will count back onto frame 6 from the 7th. The strike is worth 15 plus the next 2 balls. There's the first ball of the 7th, and it's another strike! Jennifer has now scored a double, 2 strikes in a row in bowling slang. Let's have a look at the score sheet. We mark the strike with one of those backwards Ys in the 7th frame. That ball also counts in the 6th frame, which we've indicated with a 15 in the second box. She now has 15 plus 15 with 1 ball yet to count in the 6th frame, and a 15 in the 7th with 2 more balls to count. Let's see what she does in the 8th. 1 more strike, unbelievable. Three strikes in a row is called a triple, a 3-bagger, or a turkey. No, we don't know where it comes from, but it's a lot of fun to get one. Okay, now we're going to follow this. If you'll notice in the 6th frame, we've added 15 there to the 30 that she already has for a 45 count, which is the maximum she can get in any frame. We've added that to the 92 in the 5th, so after 6 frames, she has 137 points. Now, we've also taken that same strike from the 8th, we've added it into the second box of the 7th frame. 7th frame is now worth 15, plus 15, plus there's one more ball yet to count. And as Jennifer steps up onto the approach, she's pretty focused. She finds her spot, goes into her readying position and her stance, consistent as usual. Nice delivery, high follow through, and the ball hits the left hand side, taking out the 5-pin and the 3-pin, leaving a head split. We'll indicate this with an HS in the first box of the 9th frame. Now we've completed the 7th frame. If you'll notice, we've added an 8 in the 3rd box. She has 15 plus 15 plus 8 for a 38 count in the 7th frame, added to the 137 of the 6th, giving her 175 in total after 7. We've also taken the same 8 points, added into the second box of the 8th frame, and she's throwing her 3rd ball now, and she picks a 3-2 but fouls. 2 things happen. We have to mark an F underneath the second box indicating where the foul happened. We also score 5 points in the 9th frame on the second box, and that 5 points is added to the 8th frame 3rd box to complete the frame there, giving her 15 plus 8 plus 5, which is 28, added to the 175, giving her 203 after 8 frames, with 1 ball yet to count in the 9th. As she steps up to throw the final ball of the frame, she moves across the lane to shoot for the corner, lines up very carefully, and she picks it for a 2 count on the 3rd ball of her 9th frame, completing the 9th, giving her 8 plus 5 plus 2 for 15, added to 203 in the 8th. She has 218 after 9 frames. In the first ball of the 10th frame, Jennifer does hit the middle on the right hand side, taking out the 5, the 3, and the 2, which, if you'll remember, we call a chop off. We indicate that by putting a C/O in the first box of the 10th frame. She has 10 points on her first ball and 2 more balls to count. Now remember, in the 10th frame, she'll throw all 3 balls no matter what. Let's see what she does on her second ball. And she spares it, taking out the 3-2. We mark a spare, again with a diagonal line, in the second box of the 10th frame. The frame is not complete. She has 1 more ball to count. At the moment, she has 10 plus 5, and let's see what she does on the 3rd one. Intense concentration, and she blows by on the left-hand side, picking out a 3-pin. We mark the 3-pin, the last ball, with a 3 in the 3rd box of the 10th frame. In that frame, she scored 10 plus 5 plus 3 for 18, which we add to the 218 in the 9th frame for a total of 236. However, remember, we have a foul that we must remove from the frame before. So at the end, after taking 15 points off for the foul, Jennifer's final score is 221. If Jennifer had fouled more than once, each foul would have been subtracted at the end of the game. But remember, she cannot finish with a game less than 0. There's no such thing as a minus score in bowling. Now remember, memorize the value of the pins. At first you may have to add each pin as you keep score, but in time you'll begin to know the count of fallen pins without having to add them up each time. Okay, remember now how this system allows us to review the game as it happens. On her first frame, she punched a head pin. The first ball. Second ball, she got 5. And our 3rd ball, she missed, counting 0. R for a right corner pin on her first ball. She spared that. First ball of the 3rd frame, she counted aces. Followed that with a 2-pin and another miss. 4th frame, L for a left corner pin. She missed the spare and missed again. Fifth frame, 5 on the first ball, a spare for the second ball, and the first ball of the 6th frame was a strike. First ball of the 7th frame was a strike. The 8th frame was a strike. 9th frame, she got a head split, 5 on her second ball, and fouled, and 2 pin on her last ball. In her final frame, she got a chop off, spared it, and followed that with a 3 pin. For a 236 total, which we had to remove 15 from, giving her a grand total of 221. If you get strikes on every ball, you'll throw 12 strikes for a perfect game of 450. You can work that out if you like.